Hey everybody, welcome back to Sunday Afternoon Smokes, your casual conversation podcast, interviewing the business professionals, entrepreneurs, and entertainers of the upstate of South Carolina. My name is Chris. I'm your host. I'm a realtor and the operator and owner of the Cigar Box, a mobile cigar bar that serves the upstate and beyond. Today, I have the joy of sitting down with my friend, Chris Haile. And Chris, I like to let my guests introduce themselves. So take a minute, say hey, say as much or as little about yourself as you like, and we'll get cracking.
Well, hello. Thank you for having me on. And I know we've been talking about doing this here for a little while. So excited to, like I said earlier, see how the sausage is made. Mm-hmm. And I've really enjoyed listening to the podcast. So a pleasure here to be on this side of it.
Sweet. So you listen to my podcast?
I actually do listen.
Sweet.
I haven't heard all like 31. This is like your 31st, 32nd?
32nd episode went up yesterday.
Yeah. So I'm a person who believes in being, very truthful and honest. I have not heard everything that you put out here, but I have definitely caught most of your podcasts.
Yeah. Not a problem. Well, no, I appreciate you listening to the podcast. You're going to want to give that. So your cigar, you need some more fire. Look at it. Just look at it.
Yep. I can see.
You see you're not fully lit there. So we have already lit up. Usually I light up while my guests introduce themselves, but I went ahead and just lit anyway. So let me ask you, and you just put yourself out there a second ago. You said, I believe in being very truthful. So with that being put out there,
doesn't mean I have to respond. I can just say nothing.
Sure, you can decline to respond. Yeah, no, but just an honest assessment. I'm open to constructive criticism.
Oh boy,
yeah. What do you think of the podcast?
So I do really enjoy it. I've really enjoyed your guests, especially the last couple of guests. So I'm not going to remember their names, but I know the last one that I heard. So I don't know if that was number 32 or not. Was the where the conversation kind of went more in a sort of a spiritual direction, off notes there for a while.
On the very beginning?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, the first hour. That was with Cam Hill from Lead Directive that came out yesterday. Dude, I've been listening to that today as I've driven around, and last night. Man, it was really good.
Yeah, that was a great guest. A lot of great nuggets. A lot of things to think about, and that's what I love most, especially in this sort of setting, this medium here, is to be able to have this type of interview where just have casual conversation, and then you have that little nugget, that thing that starts to make you think.
Yeah.
And as you
won't even hear it.
That's crazy. We hear it all the time driving down.
Yeah, I just mean on the podcast.
Yeah. But to be able to have that one little thing that kind of makes you pause and think, and when a podcast ends and I'm still thinking through something that was said, that's when I know it was great, and it happens often. So I do think that's a tribute to you, but more so to the guests that you've been able to have on the show. The guy that you had before, that was the bodybuilder strength.
Jake Henderson.
Yeah, that was an impressive one as well. I felt jacked up and motivated.
You felt jazzed, ready to roll.
Yeah, after listening to that. So yeah.
Well, you're very, you and your family are very just kind of health focused, health conscious, I should say. And you're part of it, of course, I think is, genetics. That's a huge part of it,
Yes, absolutely.
And then the other part of it is just personal, what's the word I'm looking for? Personal
commitment to not screwing it up.
Yeah, personal commitment to not being a slob, and not just being that's not the right word. A glutton. That's the word I'm looking for.
There's so many different ways with that, because I know there are people who work really, really hard and seems like nothing really takes, and it's just a constant battle.
That's like a genetic thing.
Exactly. So I do benefit from some really good genetics. In some ways, my spine might say different. There's some negative genetics there coming from my dad with some of the things I suffer with, but that actually sort of helps motivate me to want to what the things that I can control, things that I can do, to be really responsible with the body that I have.
Yeah.
So I can be around for a while. I've got 4 kids, so I love being a dad, and I'd also like to be able to enjoy life when we're empty nesters if we ever reach that stage.
You will eventually. Yeah.
Eventually, yeah. We've stretched that out now with spacing the kids out here.
But that's okay. I think as a father, as a dad, having just celebrated Father's Day yesterday, it's okay if your kids are still at home and they're 20. You know what I mean? Like,
as long as they're contributing in some way.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying they can just at 20 years old, you're finished with high school, you're not in college, you're not in some tech school, you don't have a job, you're just, on perpetual summer vacation. No, that's not okay. But, and I think you can appreciate this being a divorced dad yourself, just like I am. Like I miss so much time with my kids. Of course, I crave when they're around. But I am not like the kind of guy that's all right. You finish high school, you need to go to college. You need to find out what you want to do. Like right now, go to college, go to school, get in the world, get busy. It's hard to put on an 18, 20-year-old, 21-year-old kid to already have your whole life figured out. You don't even know like what your passions are. Like I would rather my kids finish up high school and if they want to stay with me, get a job, be productive, learn about, like when you're young and you're single like that and you have the opportunity to do things that you would not otherwise be able to do, especially when you get older and you get married and you have kids and then you're in the throes of life. But like, get a job, be productive, stay at my place, don't pay rent, save your money, or give me X amount of rent. And I'll just sock it away whenever and I'll give it back to him when they leave. You know what I mean? But travel some, see the country, see the world, get some experiences, find out what you love, find out your passion, and then make your steps. And so, you'll get to empty nest, but I feel like the older I get and how much I love my kids, that time where there's that separation from child and parent, they enter into adulthood. I want to preserve that presence of them in my personal space as long as possible. No,
I definitely feel that. I'm feeling that right now with my daughter who is in college in a small university in northern Indiana. It's about a 600-mile drive. So I think I saw her for maybe about a week in total last year. And I've definitely done the dad thing of guilting her a little bit with that kind of wink, wink. But then there's definitely I'm legitimately missing her and sad and like, please, whatever reason, if it's guilt or whatever, come home, say hi. But
we're gonna send her this podcast.
Yeah,
and tell her to listen to the first 10 minutes. Is all you gotta listen to.
That's right. And she'll say her response will be, "I've already agreed to come home for a couple of weeks, so she's gonna be down here. Actually, go on a beach vacation with us, which will be really nice, having everybody together. So it'll be the first time in a while that we've been able to spend any length of time with all 4 of my kids together. So that'll be really exciting there. So she's going the college route. My oldest son went to college for 1 year, and then he was working for the summer as a plumber, and came back to us and just said, hey, I actually like doing this, and just kind of start running the numbers, how much time he's going to have to invest into school, the debt that he was going to rack up, just to be able to get an entry-level job and the career path that he was wanting to go after, which he really liked, and you could almost say had a passion for. But he just said, just doesn't seem to make sense. And I really like this job. He likes working with his hands. He likes being out on job sites. And he's in with a really good company, a really good crew. there, and they took him under his wing, and a couple of guys who were kind of partnered up and running their own plumbing business have said, hey, we'll teach him how to do this, and if he wants to go on his own, we'll help him get set up.
Yeah.
And so as a dad, I was thinking, yes, you've got my full support, and he has not looked back. I've had fathers of other sons and their sons, and who are friends of his, reaching out to me and saying, hey, how'd you talk Michael into doing this? And what did you do? And because they like what they see coming from him, which obviously makes me feel really, really proud as a dad. But just like we were attributing some of my health to genetics, I attribute a lot to just being blessed with a really good kid. He's a great kid, and got his head screwed on right, despite all the things I might have done to knock it off.
Yeah, well, parenting is tough, man. There's no, you're a young adult, and then you have a kid, and there's no, the popular line is there's no instruction manual. Of course, as Christians, obviously we look to the scriptures for parenting advice, and there's a lot of good parenting books out there, but it's just kind of, especially with the first one, you know what I mean? It's just kind of like figure it out as you go. And, but you just, you have your morals, you have, whatever those happen to be. It's no secret to my listeners that I am a committed Christian, but you have your morals, you have your framework, and you do your best to begin putting those things into that kid. And
I can't imagine, as a person of faith, what that would be like trying to parent without that. Because it's scary enough as it is right now, trying to raise another human being to be able to go out on their own and manage the world that we live in, and to not have that rock to lean on, that peace, that even in my weakness and my failures of not having the manual to be able to do this thing called parenting absolutely right, that His grace covers that, and he's got my kids, no matter what. So I can't imagine what that would be like without having that.
No, I'm with you. I think kind of like the scariest. I talk to I've been around a lot of parents with young children because of the nature of my wife's business, being the midwife and always delivering infants. And so I talk to a lot of moms and dads who have little children. And of course, my children, my oldest son will turn 20 in 4 days. So I've got 20, 18, 16, and 12. And I just talk to the young parents just about when they talk about how just, being a parent of a young child is so busy because they need your constant attention for everything, and they do. And I can remember being in that phase, and I couldn't wait for my kid to get to, like, I can't wait till they can do these basic things. So I don't have to do it anymore. Like if they can bathe themselves, they can feed themselves, when they can dress themselves, these steps. But I kind of try and caution parents with young children, like, don't miss the joys of these moments in wishing for you to have not quite so much responsibility.
Yeah.
Because, I just told you how old my children are, and I would give anything to go back to that.
Yeah.
And they're just growing up, and as the nature of humanity is, you grow up and you go away.
Yeah.
And it's just, and then they talked about just kind of like the challenges, right? The challenges, like when it comes to your children, I mean, we're getting into a parenting podcast here, and that's fine. We haven't even talked about cigars yet. We'll get there, but
talk about all the things that we did wrong.
Yeah. Like the challenge, they're talking about the challenges of children. Like as the children get older, the responsibilities of the adult get less, the responsibilities of the parent gets less, but the consequences are much greater.
Yeah.
Like, if your toddler, the consequences for him if he makes a mistake is negligible.
Mm.
The consequences for a 19-year-old are enormous.
Yeah, and so this just struck me. So this would be one of those things where if I was listening to the podcast, this is going to be said, then I would want to think it through and then probably criticize it. So I'm going to criticize myself later. But I might say that the responsibility is not necessarily lessen or change, but just the relationship itself with your kids is what changes because of the consequences, the significance of them becoming so much more significant and greater in life. I would say the responsibility in some way almost elevates. It's just you have to, the relationship is adjusting. And I think one of the mistakes that is often made, and I felt it a lot, and I'm not saying I got this right all the time, is that as they're getting older, especially in the teenage years, you almost feel this desire and need as a parent to start to constrict when it really should work the other way, where when they're really young, you're very sheltered, and you've got barriers, your pack and plays or whatever, where they're limited to where they can go, and very controlled environments. And as they're getting older, you're exposing them to more and giving them more and more freedom. And I feel like as a parent, if you get into that situation where you feel like you're kind of trying to all of a sudden throw in these barriers and fences during those teenage years, that's when you have the things go nuclear, the war, and the fight. And I think I did some things well in that, but definitely some areas where looking back, wish I would have done differently. And so my younger boys, my 13 and 11-year-old, are benefiting from those mistakes that I would have made with my oldest.
Yeah. Maybe responsibility as a parent wasn't the right word. Maybe it was like obligations. Because when the kids are young, I'm obligated to do everything. But as they get older and get more self-sufficient, well, like if you're hungry, I don't have to make you a sandwich. You can make it yourself.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, and like when I'm talking about the consequences for parenthood, it's like in children, like I'm going to try and teach my child in their very formative years the certain dangers of things and instill that to them. But like, teaching my 3-year-old or whatever it is, how to be careful when you close the door, you're going to smash your finger. Okay, that's important, but it's a small thing versus your 18-year-old kid now, if he's not responsible and he plows his car into 4 other people and kills somebody or gets some girl pregnant or if it's a daughter gets pregnant or what, like the consequences, the stakes are much higher, but my obligations on a practical input level, you're obviously at that age, you're still there to parent and give guidance, but you get to that point in life where they start turning into young adults and all you can do is pray that what you have taught them has stuck.
Yeah, that they're going to follow through with it. That's you become more of a person who is guiding and influencing, but they still have that.
I mean, you're not making decisions anymore.
Right.
They are.
Right.
But you're still there for guidance and wisdom and instruction and
and unfortunately, if they make those wrong decisions, they're not the only ones that suffer those consequences. It ripples through the whole family.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to the world of parenting. If you don't have kids.
It's a funny thought that you just reminded me of. I remember, so I obviously divorced and had 2 kids from my first marriage. And my wife, Lori, when we were getting married, she made some comments, and I'll just sum it up because I don't know that she ever said this outright. She does talk about it now in this way, that she was the best parent because she had all the perfect advice for everybody.
She had no kids?
Yeah, she did not have kids.
Okay.
The moment she had kids, all that went out the window, and it was just this revelation after revelation of like, I get it now, and almost, just prayerfully saying, please forgive me to all the people in the past that she had spoken to. But I think there's a lesson for all of us in that we can have all the answers until we're in it.
Yeah. My wife does not have children of her own. In fact, our marriage is her first marriage. It's my second marriage. She never had biological children. And there's been some of that battle, some of that consternation, like where she wants to parent a certain way and I don't. Our parenting styles are very different. But, and if you're not careful, coming from my position, a guy with children, we can have that tendency to look at people who do not have children and say to them, what in the world would you know about it?
Yeah.
Because you're not a parent. That doesn't mean that people without, and I have probably said something like that to her in not so many words, but you got the message.
Never know.
Which, later you have to probably apologize for and try and cool things off a little bit. Because people who don't have children, and this applies to whatever topic, right? Like, I don't know jack diddly about flying I've never flown an airplane, but I might have some knowledge of,
I've watched Top Gun, so I'm an expert.
Like, I love it. Yeah. So, but people who, like my wife or your wife, like, that doesn't mean they don't know things about being a parent. But I will say this, that yes, there is a ginormous difference between knowing something and actually doing something.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the same goes. You can just talk about marriage. Same thing for people who have not been married, and then see other married couples and the struggles that they go through, the dynamics where times seem really good and all of a sudden things seem really difficult and really bad, and a single person who's never been married may think, oh, it's really this simple and this easy. And on a certain level, maybe that is true, but there's just something about that dynamic in the marriage relationship. It complicates things. Just like in parenting, it's great to write it out on paper, say this is 1 + 1 = 2, but sometimes when you actually have kids, there's so many other variables. It's not just basic addition. It's like calculus.
Right. Well, you mentioned a couple of times, like, let's just see if we can help some listeners out there. I have no idea who's listening. You and I are both divorced men in a second marriage. And you and I have talked enough to know, like, we learned so much from the first marriage and the mistakes that we made. And now we're into marriage number 2. So how long have you and your wife been married now?
Oh, man. So this is one of those gotcha questions, right?
I didn't mean it to be. Lori's not going to listen to this podcast anyway, so I'm sure you're fine.
13 years now. We were married in November of 2011.
Okay.
So, yeah. 14
All right.
years. Coming up on 14.
Okay, so it's been a while.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So we will be 4 years the 26th of this month.
Newbies.
Yeah, total noobs. I just want to take a few minutes to just talk about, I don't know, man, let's talk about divorce. Let's talk about ourselves. Let's talk about the responsibilities of the husband. Let's talk about what we learned in transitioning out of a marriage into a new marriage. Like, I don't know, I just feel like maybe we can say something or a few things that might help some dude out there who's struggling.
Yeah. Oh, man. I think about all the different times, different sort of stages of my past life. Almost feels like a different person, looking back through all of that, and where it's like this was a struggle and this was a struggle, and where people were trying to speak into my life to help me in one way or the other. And, so many times where I just either wasn't ready to listen or just unwilling to listen to that kind of help. But yeah, I mean, the long and short of it is, divorce is messy. It's messy for everybody. And when I went through my divorce, when we had the the attorneys, the judge, the guardian ad litem were all making comments when we were there, kind of finalizing everything about how like clean, nice, and easy this process went. They were just all just sort of almost glowing about how good this divorce was, in terms of how well we treated each other, is very respectful and all of that. And yet, even in that, there was still a lot of hurt, and there's still scars from it. Here, however many years later, beyond that. So, even with having something that was recognized by people who do it all the time as being, you could say, quote unquote, like the best or a good one, it still hurts, and there's still scars. There's still, it's still messy.
Yeah.
It takes a while to recover from that, to unpack all of that. And the challenge, especially when you get remarried, is now you're still unpacking all of the things that you did wrong. That was something. I'm a big believer in counseling, and whether it's in a professional forum or even like this, but you want to be careful, and when you're just talking to just kind of your buddy or a friend, because you do need that person who can really be objective, say what needs to be said, and that. And so I'm a real big believer in counseling in that. There was a thought that I had, but I wanted to explain the counseling part now. I can't remember the thought. Just that as there's a reason why you get divorced, and there's two sides to it. Most everybody in most cases, kind of share responsibility or blame in some way. Obviously, there's going to be situations and where it leans more one way or the other, but that there are bad habits that you had in that first marriage that likely led to the divorce, and what it seems like, and I even saw it in my own life, as getting remarried. Thankfully, it was something that Lori and I kind of took on together, that we acknowledged this was like, there are going to be blind spots, that we have bad habits from our previous marriage, and we may not even recognize them as bad habits. We may think they're good habits, or just not even that they are habits, but we're bringing them into this new one now. So we now have a blended family that we're trying to figure out.
That's tough.
We're newly married, which is, in and of itself is a whole thing. And we're trying to unpack all of the bad habits that we had, because she had been married before as well. And divorce, that led to each of our previous marriages ending in divorce, and so that was a big journey for us. And in fact, I mean, there's still times where something comes up, and we just start to really unpack why we're having an issue, a conflict, and oftentimes we can sort of trace it back. Hey, this is learned behavior, things that we did here, and we just haven't been in a situation where it brought it up yet, and now it is. So just to be able to unpack what those bad habits are, recognize them, call them out for what they are. But just with any habit, like trying to go to the gym, if you want to start going to the gym, make that a habit, and change the habit of whatever you're eating on a regular basis. It takes discipline and doing something over and over and over again. There are going to be times where you mess up. Same thing when you've got relational bad habits as well.
Yeah. No, there's a lot there to unpack and to think about. I mean, I just think, and I've said this before on the podcast, I know I have, and I've probably said it to you, like marriage is a choice, and so is divorce. They're both choices. And like, I think, if you're not careful, you wind up thinking, if your marriage is struggling, like, did I marry the wrong person?
Man, that's a whole issue right there.
No, it is, and I'm getting to it. And before we're married, we're thinking about marrying the right person. But like, you are only responsible for you. When you have two consenting adults that join together in the union that we call marriage, you as the husband or you as the wife, like, you are only responsible for you. Like, I am responsible for how I love my wife, how I talk to my wife, how I think about my wife, how I think about my marriage. I cannot make her do anything. I cannot make her think or say anything. I cannot control her. So if you want to have a really good marriage, then be a good husband.
Mm-hmm.
Because 9 times out of 10, if I am a good husband, then I will have a good wife. Right? I mean, if I treat her right, if I talk to her properly, if I handle her properly when she's scared, when she's insecure, and that's a big one.
Yeah.
When a woman is insecure, if I handle her right when she's insecure, like, am I giving her the things that provide her with security? Like, am I giving her enough of my attention so that she knows she has my attention in somebody else rather than somebody else? Financial security is a big one.
Mm-hmm.
Financial and emotional security for women are enormous. So, like, if I am fulfilling my obligations as a husband to my wife in those specific areas, attention and financial security, and talking to her properly and thinking about her properly, 9 times out of 10, she will pick up on those things and she will respond properly, and she will give me the love and the respect that I need. And then it just kind of continues to go that way. But you have to, I think the danger zone for most guys is your thought life.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with that. And I would say, just kind of piggybacking off of where you were going, that you can either be a hindrance or a help and your spouse, whichever side you're going to talk about there, whichever one you want to look at, so whether a husband's perspective or wife's perspective. And what I hear you saying, it's not that you do everything perfectly and it's going to guarantee that your spouse responds accordingly.
It's not.
But you can definitely get in the way and make it really difficult for them to respond accordingly, or in a great positive way. But that has also been one of the things that challenges for my wife and I. We're both competitive people. We like things to be done really well and right, and we're both very analytical people. So sometimes we can overanalyze. Not sometimes. We often will overanalyze things. So as soon as there's any like hint of or even outright conflict, it's what did we do wrong? And there has been this process that we've been going through really over the last few years here of just realizing that conflict's that's just part of life, and it's not in and of itself. It's not bad. It doesn't necessarily mean that we are wrong. And part of it is just because we're human. We're two humans, and not only that we're flawed, but that we get tired, we get hungry, we get irritated, we get upset, we have emotions, and we don't always, aren't always aware of all the other things that are going on that are affecting us in one way, and then our spouse gets it. And we're not able to recognize that, but yeah, being able to kind of then circling full circle here, come back to being the best version of you in the moment with what you know and where you are in your journey of becoming the spouse that you need to be. It gives room for your spouse to be able to do that for themselves.
Yeah. Well, I think here's a big takeaway, and I'll share this, and we can move on from marriage. But I just, after having gone through my divorce, which was absolutely brutal for so many reasons, and that's a whole nother episode or private conversation or whatever. I think it dovetails with what I was just saying about being the right, like treating my wife right, like, because you get in the midst of bitterness is a big problem. Bitterness is basically a problem that wasn't properly dealt with, and then you just hold on to it and you harbor it and you harbor it, and eventually it turns into bitterness, and that's a problem. But it's like I said earlier, I can't make my wife do anything. I can't control her. I can't make her say anything. I can't make her do what I want her to do. But looking backwards, I know I know where things, went wrong, but I don't remember when this came to me, but it's just like, okay, I have to take responsibility for myself. Because whenever you're like, pride, of course, is a problem. And when you're injured, the natural response is to lash out instead of taking responsibility. If you were wrong, and even if you weren't wrong, instead of defending yourself and saying I'm not wrong, the better thing is to let's cool things down. Let's stop, because there's a problem here. Like you have to care more about your marriage than you do who's right. You know what I mean? Obviously somebody is right and somebody is wrong. But let's see if we can slow it down and drill down to and boil down to what the real problem is. And when you're having a lot of conflict in a marriage, I mean, you know this to be true, and most people who are married know this to be true. If you come home and your wife blows up because the kitchen's dirty, that's just a symptom. That's not the real problem. It's not that the kitchen is dirty. There's underlying, the kitchen is dirty and that's a problem. She's upset about it, but that's usually just something on the surface. If you've had cycles and cycles and cycles of problems, there's something deeper.
Yeah.
Right. So after the marriage was dissolved and everything, and there was some maturity that came along through that process that I wish had been there sooner, but whatever. But I just realized, looking back at it all, what did I do that was wrong? And then I owned them. I recognized what I did. I owned it. I took it to God and got forgiveness for it. Admitted that I was wrong, asked for forgiveness, and recognizing those mistakes, moving that I'm responsible for me and me only, my words, my choices, my actions, and then putting that into play into the new marriage.
Yeah.
Right. So that it's better. And then, and I know I'm at the point and have been there and I'll always be here. Like, if somebody asked me, well, does your former spouse know what she did wrong? I would say, I don't know. And I don't really care.
Yeah.
Like I hope she does. I hope she matures to that point, but I'm not worried about that because I'm only responsible for me.
Yeah. That's a big one too, because a divorce should be a separation there. Now, and when you have kids and you still have to manage that relationship, so you're still in contact, you're still having to kind of co-parent there a little bit. That does make it really challenging. But being able to separate from those things that you actually have to do and do well for the kids and the parenting side of it, but then also let them be them and start their journey now without you, and you do you, that's so to speak. That's definitely a struggle. Yeah. One of the many struggles as you're going through divorce.
Well, I'll just say this: if you're listening to this podcast and your marriage is struggling, get some help. Right? Get some help, get some counseling, get some therapy, do everything you can to save your marriage, because it's important. And you will save yourself a lot of grief and a lot of heartache and a lot of sadness and a lot of stinking money.
Yeah, that's and I will say I have no idea why this feels, there's just such an impression, but I can remember at the time where I was really struggling with my first marriage and was on the verge of wanting to get divorced, feeling like that was actually the quote unquote right thing to do.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about protecting your thoughts.
Yep.
Because you start thinking about that, and then it consumes your thoughts, and eventually your thoughts eventually become your actions.
Yeah, and so this is a really interesting dynamic or thought exercise. I don't know what the right wording to describe this, but I would not change anything with where I'm at right now. I love my wife, all 4 of my kids. I am who I am today because of everything that happened before. So nothing I'm about to say devalues that in any way. I do not want to go back. I don't want to change anything.
Only divorced people will understand this. I understand totally what you're saying.
But I can remember when I was, especially being in the church, the Christian world, and the pressure to stay together, where I was looking for everything out there to give me an excuse and a reason to move forward with divorce. That was almost spiritual. It's almost like God ordained to make that happen, because I had already decided I was getting the divorce. I was looking for that. So in that,
you're just looking for a justification.
Even now, as we're talking, I'm trying to be really mindful of the potential of that person and that situation. Listening to what we're talking about, that I'm not going to be. I don't want to say something that helps to justify that decision, because it's, like I said, that's why I want to stress it. It's so messy, even if it's quote unquote a good divorce.
There's no good divorces. There's just.
So something you didn't really flesh out was you made the comment about marrying the right person.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess we'll stick on this for a few more minutes, but
I think this is such a good, because it speaks a little bit to the culture that we're in today.
Yeah, there's no such thing as the right person.
Yeah.
Like if you're a Christian, look beyond this. Okay. I'll speak just biblically. There's two parameters God puts on marriage. Heterosexual, so men marry women and women marry men. End of story. Number 2, a Christian should only marry another born-again believer. Don't marry people of other religions. Don't marry unbelievers. That's an unequal yoke. God is against that. But beyond that, right? Beyond that, it is up to you as a person to do your homework and look at that. And this is what most young people don't do, because they don't, when you're 20, 21, 22, you don't have the discernment that you do when you're our age, right? But it's up to you to determine, like, how's this person handle their finances, right? What's this person's social life like? How does this woman, how does she talk to her father? How does she treat her parents? Like all these little clues that you and I, now that we've had life experience and we understand people, and like these clues, these things that we would look for to find somebody that's suitable. All of those things, it's up to you to decipher that. But again, if the criteria is an opposite sex and a Christian, and then there's literally, even in the upstate of South Carolina, if you're a single dude and you're looking at women around here, there's literally thousands of them that would check the boxes. And most of them would work. So how do you pick the right one? Well, there is no right one. You have to, marriage is about you being the right person, not about finding the right person.
Which is what I think that really comes down to. Yeah. It's almost a way of abdicating responsibility, because it's really about the goal is for me to find the right person, so if it doesn't work, it's because I
married the wrong person.
It's never one to take our own responsibility, but yeah, that's
Yeah.
I feel like this is the type of conversation that ultimately leads to arranged marriages.
Yeah, probably so. Probably so. Didn't intend to start the podcast this way on a heavy topic, but that's okay. That's why we're smoking cigars.
That's right.
To bring the stress level down. High stress topic, stress level down. We're going to counterbalance with a cigar. So, hey, listener, I want you to experience the ultimate in cigar luxury brought directly to you, whether that's an event of corporate nature, private party, a wedding, or whatever, the Cigar Box offers a curated selection of premium cigars, expert recommendations, and a sophisticated mobile cigar bar experience on wheels. Visit mobileCigarBox.com, fill out the booking inquiry form, and I will be with you. I'll be back in touch with you as soon as possible. Also, for my listeners who are entrepreneurs, or you're running a business or whatever, and you are looking for some custom apparel, maybe some hats, some hoodies, some t-shirts, beanies, leather goods, whatever, James Capps of Moultrie Leather Goods should be your go-to guy. You can visit Moultrie, that's Moultrie, Moultrie Leather Goods on Facebook, or send James an email to moultrieleathergoods@gmail.com. And when you mention that Chris from Sunday Afternoon Smoke sent you, you're going to get a nice discount. So get together with Moultrie Leather Goods and James Capps. He'll take care of you. He does fabulous work, and he's going to hook you up. So let's jump in cigars. I mean, that's where we're supposed to start on this podcast. We just got things out of order. You are smoking. I brought you an Alec Bradley Chunk. Have you ever smoked this cigar?
I have not. I have not smoked this, and it is great.
Yeah.
It's actually, yeah.
Alec Bradley Chunk Maduro. So that is a Mexican wrapper with a Honduras binder and then a Dominican piloto and Nicaraguan filler. So you've got,
wow.
Well, you got a four country blend there: Mexican, Honduras, Dominican, and Nicaraguan.
Because I'm typically all Nicaraguan everything. So
yeah, you like
really
Nicaragua stuff.
Well, so I'm talking about habits. I'm when I find things that I like, I just sort of stick with it. Especially if I'm spending my money on something,
That's
right?
fair.
I want to know that I'm going to like it. I don't like throwing it away. And I have not had any Nicaraguan cigar that I have not liked. So I feel really safe with it when I walk into places, because I am definitely not an expert in cigars. I hope to be one day. I hope to become a snob. But I know when I walk in, if I pick something, as long as it says Nicaragua on it, I'm good.
Yeah, well, Nicaragua, I mean, obviously they make great, the tobacco from Nicaragua is great. It's rich, it's spicy. And so they're putting a couple of things in there, like that Mexican wrapper, which I really like Mexican tobacco. And my cigar is very similar to yours. I'm smoking the Crowned Heads Juarez. It is a Mexican San Andreas wrapper, so we both got Mexican wrappers. I have Dominican and Nicaragua filler, just like you.
Okay.
The only difference is that I have an Ecuadorian Sumatra grown binder.
And yours is a lot longer than mine, so.
Well, yours was short and fat,
so you get to enjoy yours longer. Well, yeah, no, they're actually. We'll see.
Yours, I mean, that's still a decent smoke. I mean, it's a very short cigar, but it's chubby.
No,
so
I felt the disrespect. No, this really is a great, especially for a late afternoon cigar.
Mm-hmm. So, tell me about, like, how long have you been smoking cigars? How did you get into them?
I can't wait to send this to my friend up in Chicago, Scott. So he corrupted me. No,
he enlightened.
I agree. That was kind of the joke around, was that he was corrupting me. But I'm so thankful that he did, because I really enjoy it so much. But so someone that I worked with in my previous role, we both worked remotely as franchise business coaches, and he's from Chicago. I'm here in South Carolina, and every once in a while, events would align so that we could be together somewhere, and so we started to partake. He convinced me. I'm a bourbon guy, whiskey guy, dark liquor, into some Scotch, but really limited in the Scotch that I like. My go-to is a Macallan 12 with that, and found that if I combined a cigar with Scotch, that both were awesome together, that I enjoyed the Scotch, but it really seemed to elevate it. And he's a big Scotch guy as well. So he started to open my eyes to cigars, and so yeah, I've been hooked ever since.
And this was when?
Oh, man, I'm really bad about this. So maybe 3 years ago.
Oh, so you're pretty young still in the cigar world.
Yeah,
I mean, and that's coming
I'm trying
from
to catch
not,
up. I feel like
yeah.
I'm putting enough of them away to kind of maybe be
I mean,
5 years worth.
I haven't been smoking forever. I mean, I really got back into tobacco and cigars in like 2018. So, I mean, I'm what, 7 years in now,
Okay.
you know, so I'm not like light years ahead of you or anything, but
You're an expert
you know,
now.
I
I'm
probably, yeah, I'm not an expert. I just know more than most people. But I'm not an expert by any means, especially I consider like some of the guys that I know, and some of the stuff that I read from other people online and wherever, like there's people that are legit experts. I am not. I'm probably still a novice.
I'm absolutely sure there are people who go way deep and can recall information just like that. But I will say your depth of knowledge in cigars is really impressive.
Well, I appreciate that's very kind.
But I appreciate how you deliver it to people like myself. I never feel like you're condemning me or making fun. You always present the information in a way where it's informative. It's almost drawing me into it.
Sure.
Which
Well, I
I
appreciate
really
it. Yeah, man. Let's talk about how to operate a lighter. I'm just kidding.
So glad this is not video.
I'm just kidding. No, so cigars, and you and I met probably a year ago now, because I remember when we first met, it was freaking hot, and I was out at pharmacy.
That's right.
Yeah, so it's been about a year, and we just kind of met by happenstance.
It feels longer.
It does.
It does. And I think part of it's because we've had this type of conversation often.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like every time we get together, it's never about, like you joked how we just dove right into a deep topic. Seems like that's just sort of what we do with that. But yeah, my wife found you on Instagram, I think. And she knew I was into cigars, and seemed like the only time that I was really getting them was when I would travel and meet up with other guys who were doing that. We did try the Social Club. Is that what
Social Cigar?
Social Cigar, yeah. Really nice place. My wife she occasionally will enjoy a cigar. We got to do that once, but other than that, I really just didn't know where to get it. I didn't want to look like an idiot when I walked into a place. It was intimidating. So she saw that you were doing a little sit up over at the pharmacy, which is really close to here. And so we went and visited, and it's been storybook between us ever since.
Storybook. That's funny. Yeah, man. So you being a guy who works remote, I mean, that's great for being a cigar smoker.
Oh, it is.
You know, because you're not reporting to a regular office where you can't go in and smoke. You know, not that you smoke in your home office. I don't know. Do you?
I don't know.
You should just put an air smoke humidifier in there.
All right, you donate it.
Rabbit air.
You donate it. I'll.
Well, I don't know about that.
I mean, you're offering, right?
No, I'm telling you, you should.
And I'm saying you
should.
Look,
tell your wife that for Christmas, you want a rabbit air.
Man, we're about to circle right back into marriage, marriage talking or topic here.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go tell my wife you need to do this. Yeah.
No, not you need to do this, honey. This is what I want for Christmas. Now,
okay.
Not whether or not it actually shows up under the tree is a whole other matter.
Yeah,
you know, but you can put in a request.
Yeah.
So
yes, I guess I can request anything.
You can. Does your home office? Because I know it's off the garage, right?
But it connects to the house.
It doesn't have a window to outdoors.
It does have one to outdoors. Yes,
dude, you're golden. Is it okay? So look, you could put a rabbit air in there for filtration of cigar smoke. And if you wanted, you know, is that room air conditioned?
Yes, but not great.
But it's connected to the rest of the house.
Yes.
Okay, well, you're probably not going to be able to do it then.
Yeah.
You know, because
that's what my concern is. That would kind of matter what it would
in the return. Yeah. In the return.
It would filter in.
Well, do what my plan is. I'm never going to be able to do it for obviously the same reason as you, marriage. Right? I think I've talked about this on my podcast with Mark Tanas, but you know, my downstairs guest room, I want to turn into my podcast room / smoking room, and I want to shut off the air vent to that room, so there's no return there.
Oh yeah.
I want to shut it off. I want to put in air filtration and put in a ductless AC into that room.
Cigar box lounge.
Yeah, and it'll be my home lounge, it'll be the Sunday Afternoon Smokes recording studio, but I can smoke in there. So nothing gets back into the house because the return is closed off.
Yeah.
And then I'll have a ductless AC in there, so the room will be nice and comfy, and then I'll have my air filtration in there. And if I have to, I could just stick a box fan in the window just to help. I mean, the rabbit air should be fine, but I also would like to get super crazy with it and do like a negative airflow room.
I have no idea what that means.
So so it's basically like, in hospitals, if somebody is super sick or there's like some mysterious infection, it's like when you open the door to the hospital, nothing comes out.
Gotcha.
Right? Nothing leaves the room. So like even though we're cut off from the house HVAC, you can still open that door and nothing's coming.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
So when is this scheduled to happen?
I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, now that my wife's incapacitated, I guess I can just do whatever I want.
Yeah, let me know how that works out.
Yeah, I will. But anyways, back to the cigars. Like, you've got a nice setup. Like, you're a guy that works from home.
Mm-hmm.
So you can smoke at your leisure. You do travel a little bit, but that gives you an opportunity to check out some cool lounges.
It does.
Where's some cool spots you've been to?
So my previous employer, the corporate office was in Glen Allen, or the Short Pump area in Virginia, Richmond area. It was a place called Mona's Lounge. That's where we always hung out. So I think that's where I sort of cut my teeth on a cigar. Got into it. That was a great place. I can't remember the name of it, but there was one in Vegas that I went to. I think I was actually texting with
you were
while I was out there trying to look for something out there. And a really nice place out there in Vegas. I can't remember that. But I was just in Dallas a couple weeks ago, and it was the Elite Cigar Cafe. That was super chill vibe, incredibly chill vibe. I don't understand going into a cigar lounge and it's really loud music.
Yeah.
Tons and tons of people, and you're kind of. I mean, I'm okay with people, but if I'm gonna go smoke a cigar, just
a cigar lounge
spread out.
Yeah.
Be able to hear my.
That's like the whole. That's the whole aura and vibe of a cigar lounge, in my opinion. Yep. It's not a place where you should be fighting for space and loud, and it's a place to chill and relax and maybe do some work or maybe entertain some clients or just chat with a friend or whatever. Yeah. So, what did you call it? The Elite Cigar
Cafe, because they also served food there as well. Their drink prices are great.
Shout out to Elite Cigar Cafe in Dallas, Texas.
Yep.
I'll have to look them up online and just plug them in the Instagram.
Yeah, it's not a huge place, kind of in almost like a little strip mall type area, or kind of shopping strip. Out there, and they treated me really well, and great experience. I sent you that AJ cigar that I had there for the first time. That was
if you have
awesome.
An AJ Fernandez cigar, you're not going to be disappointed.
I absolutely was not.
Yeah,
absolutely not. It was great. So I'm sure that helped with it, but a great little place there in Dallas, North Dallas.
Sweet. All right, man. Well, look, I'm going to go ahead and move this along to the professional side of things.
Sure.
I'm up against a hard time stop. Our marriage section took up quite a while, but we're at 58 minutes and I've got about 30 minutes left. But you work for a company called Garage Living?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what it is? Garage Living. And so tell us what Garage Living is and what you do for them.
So they're a franchise system, and the franchise is a garage remodel where it's not like a full remodel where they come in and do framing and all of that, or build out a brand new one. they although there might be some locations who have partnerships with people who'll do that if that's what you're looking for, but they primarily focus on floors, some slat wall with some organizational accessories, and our own unique line of cabinetry that we offer is really high end, just really incredible looking stuff. It's the more I'm getting into it, I can't wait for my garage to one day be remodeled.
Yeah, I've talked about this before. The garage is just a black hole of it just sucks things from your house that there's no room for, and it becomes
just a catch-all, massive closet that sometimes includes your car.
Yeah, I'm always envious of those guys who have a very meticulous, organized, awesome garage that's used for an actual purpose other than the massive. It's the junk drawer of the entire house.
That's a great way to describe it. Yeah, that's a great way. And so what this is trying to provide some functionality. Obviously, it's high end. It's really upscale looking. It's very clean, sleek, tailored to whatever your kind of design preferences are with that. But it's the franchises will take into consideration your lifestyle, kids. What do you do? Like, what's your life like when you roll up in your garage? And what's the first thing that you need to do before walking into the house? It's really extending the living space of the house out into the garage instead of the garage kind of being that junk drawer afterthought.
Yeah. So, but this company, Garage Living, what is it, garageliving.com or?
Yep.
Okay.
That's the one.
So you can go online at garageliving.com, check them out, see what they do. But this is not the company that I'm going to call if I want to turn my garage into a man cave. No?
So they can definitely help contribute that because they do all kinds of special lighting, will install. They don't go really deep into the sort of AV side, but they do prep for it, set up for it, will install
What's
TV, audio visual.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. For the uninformed.
Yeah. No, for the technically ignorant.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, they definitely. I can show you some later. That might be along those lines.
Yeah, but if I want to get you to come throw down like one of the flake coatings on my floor, that's
there's a lot of people who do that kind of stuff, and the sort of more common one you hear about is an epoxy flooring.
Right.
We do a polyaspartic flooring, just a little bit different. Epoxy, there's pros and cons to both of them. And with epoxy, one is it's like it'll level out a floor. So even if your floor is a little uneven.
Which one?
Epoxy.
Okay.
It'll level it out. It's also really smooth, so it can be slick, a little dangerous if it gets wet. And it tends to, if you get any sunlight, so if you leave your garage door open long enough or have windows and sunlight's coming in, it can fade it, damage it, yellow it, start to change the color on an epoxy, whereas the polyaspartic, it's a little more of a texture to it, so it's not going to be slick. It conforms to the floor, and it's UV resistant, so
it's not going to yellow.
It's much more durable. Yeah.
And they do the same kind of thing. You like put the flake in it and then just look it all.
Yeah. So the process will look very, very similar. It's just the quality of the floor afterwards. I think one of the other issues that you run into with epoxy flooring is there are certain types of tires that if you leave them there parked long enough, it'll actually start to bleed into or change the color of your epoxy floor.
Really?
Which actually is not a great thing since it's a garage, and that's one of the reasons why you do it, so you can park your car in there. So that's another benefit of going with the polyaspartic option.
So you guys, you're coming into somebody's garage, but like you said, though, their mission is to try and make the garage, like we said, not just the junk drawer of the house, but we want to make it functional according to your life.
Absolutely. They want to make it part of what you do when you're living in the house, instead of it being the place that you try to hurry up, get your car in if you can fit it in there, and then run inside.
So if I set up like a consultation with Garage Living, your guy's going to come out and he's going to ask me about my life.
Yep.
Right. He's going to know, what do you do? What do you use your garage floor for? What is your, or not your garage floor, but what do you use your garage for?
Or what do you
want to use it for? Because right now,
Yeah. And a lot of times you can kind of see, if you see sporting equipment in there, you see a bunch of shoes. A lot of people, if you don't have a mud room, like an official mud room, or those who have mud rooms, but they're kind of not where you want it to be. Some want to turn it into a gym, or I want to be able to park a car on this side, but this side I want to have as my gym. We install some mirrors over here and have the space laid out. So that you can have your gym equipment in there. So it really just depends on what you want to use the space for. And what garage living is really good at is being able to hear what it is you currently do, sort of your wish list of what you want to do, but then also just take notice of what they see. That's in the garage, and just listen to you talk about your life and start to give you some ideas on, hey, well, what if we do this? Have you thought about this? Make some suggestions. And it really becomes a partnership on designing your garage. And it's really cool work, what we can do.
Nice. And what do you do for garage living?
So as a franchise business coach, and this would be the case with whatever franchise system be involved in with this type of role, it's more of assisting the franchise business owners, really in whatever way they might need. Kind of a overly simplified way of describing it would be a liaison between the franchisor, the corporate office, and the franchisee who owns the local business. So a lot of my responsibilities will be weekly or monthly check-in calls, going over financials with them to review those, talk about their operational processes, making sure that they're continuing to develop or follow through with the best practices, making those things habits, and maybe some personnel issues, just being a resource in that way, reviewing their marketing plans, their lead flow, being responsive. One of the cool things is being able to see potential overall large market changes, and then being able to jump in and respond. So as you're meeting with different locations on a regular basis, start to pick up on trends as they are happening, not until long after they've happened, and then be able to go to the franchisor and say, hey, this is what we're seeing. This might be something that we need to address, and how can we brainstorm, and then come back and already have an answer ready to roll out for them. So one of the great things about a franchise system is that as an entrepreneur, you're you want to be in control, be on your own. And you have a lot of that with not all franchises. Some are a little more controlling than others. But this one, it's definitely leans more towards you being autonomous. So you're in business for yourself, but you're not by yourself. You have a massive resource and a system behind you to help support you. And so my role as a franchise business coach is just facilitating that relationship.
Yeah. So how many franchises are you responsible for?
So we have 55 locations, I think 48 owners. And I'll be responsible for, because I'm still kind of relatively new into this position with this particular franchise. So all that's being rolled out, but I'll have, once the rollout's done, I'll have 14 locations that I'm assigned to. Obviously those numbers start to change as you're continually adding locations.
Yeah.
With that, and the previous role that I had 25 locations I was responsible for.
Okay, so as the numbers get solidified, you're going to be franchise business coach for 14 businesses, 14 different businesses
across the country. Yep.
Okay, so you're not just like, they don't have you East Coast.
Correct. Yeah. So I will be, be out in California, be up in the Northeast, down in Florida, and everywhere in between, which is really cool. If you like to travel, you get to see a lot of different places. And being in this type of position now for about 5 years, going back to my previous role as well, that's definitely one of the things I've really enjoyed about this is I love meeting people, connecting with people, helping them to be successful. I kind of relate to, I think it was Cam, you said in your previous podcast, where he talked about how he's wired in a way of just saying we can always do things better, just being able to look at how things are operating and say, how can we make this more efficient? I'm just built to think that way, not to be. I've learned to not be overly critical and being able to evaluate things, but to come at it from, this may be good, but can we make it better? Can we do this better? And being able to travel around and see how different people do things a little bit differently, and then to find that's awesome. Everybody else needs to know that and be able to take that information and share it with the rest of the system.
Right. You go visit some dude down in Florida who's doing things a little bit different, but it's effective and it's helpful. And then you can call your other 13 guys. Yeah. And just say, hey, I saw this, something for you to consider. You might, if you implement this, it might help you. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's really cool.
It's very, very rewarding, and it's funny, kind of bringing this back to the college talk there. So I have a degree. I graduated from Southern Wesleyan University. My major changed so many different times, and I graduated with a degree in recreation management.
What's that?
And exactly. No, and I played 2 sports in college. I thought, as I was trying to just get out of school, that something related to sports or athletics, and I've always loved the idea of teaching, and there was something in that idea of recreation management at a Recs department, all the different programs that are involved there, that I might be able to sort of fulfill that or scratch that itch, so to speak. But ultimately, I was just trying to get out because I had no plan of what to do after college. And here I am. This was not like what I thought I would grow up and be as a franchise business coach. But I love it. I absolutely love this role.
Yeah. So how do the businesses grow? I mean, I don't mean like if I own a franchise, obviously I know how to grow that. I want to be reaching out to my community, advertising myself. Let me help your garage. But I mean, how do you go about opening new locations?
Yeah. So as far as a franchise development side, like recruiting people.
Yeah.
So it's funny you bring that up because we actually don't have one in this area right now. So if there's an entrepreneur out there who wants to have a location, the entire state of South Carolina is available.
Okay, look, you heard that. If you are entrepreneurial minded and you want to open a garage, how would you define it? It's
garage remodel, garage living.
Garage living
is the name of the company. Yeah,
you heard that. The entire state of South Carolina is your oyster, and more than likely, your franchise business coach is right here.
Yeah, that's I could almost guarantee that. That even though we don't split things up regionally, that would just make no sense to do something different. So if you've hated everything that I've said here on this podcast, then you're probably not going to do this.
Sure. Yeah. So y'all don't have a what did you call it? A franchise development program?
So that's like a whole nother department as far as who tries to recruit or seek. Yep. And there's a whole industry related to that with franchise brokers who are trying to be that first point of contact for someone who's interested, doesn't know what franchise they want. They reach out to a franchise broker who then presents like, here's 10 different franchises.
Okay.
And then we'll obviously kind of recommend the one that they prefer to work with or make a little more off of in some cases. But so there's different ways of making that work. But I know that you could reach out directly to us and sort of cut that middleman out, which in the long run, most people that I've heard is the most beneficial.
Sure.
But the franchise broker, for anybody who might be in that field, it is a good place for those people who just have no idea. Like I want to own a business, but I have no idea. And I think a franchise might make sense because I've never run a business before and I need some kind of support. Franchise is great, and a franchise broker would be great in helping you to start to open the doors of all the franchise. And there's so many. I had no idea how big the franchise industry was until kind of moving to the corporate side, because as I've shared with you, in previous conversations, I worked for a franchise for 15 years.
Yeah, that was gonna be my next question. How do you wind up being a franchise business coach? I mean, because this is what I have found in interviewing people most of the time, not all the time. There's like, I've interviewed a number of chefs, and a lot of these guys, they like to cook, right? And they knew it from whenever. But it's not like, Chris Haile is in 11th grade biology class, and you're sitting there thinking, yeah, man, I'm going to be a franchise business coach. That's what I want to do. So there's like, most professions are that way. I mean, I interviewed a guy who was a loan officer. I pretty much phrase it the same way. You're not in high school thinking, I could probably crush it as a loan officer. So how do you wind up being Chris Haile, franchise business coach?
Yeah, it was definitely a journey for me, and I always thought, working for a corporate job was not the ideal. I was thinking small business, stay local. Really believed in that, and I still do, which is kind of interesting because technically I have a corporate job, but I'm still supporting and advocating for that very thing, for these business owners to own their own business in a local place, hire guys, and work in a local place. And so I actually was hired to be a technician for a landscape lighting company here in the upstate. And when I just needed a job, and that's all I was looking for at the time, was just a job to try to figure out what I was going to do next, because this was sort of in the middle of my sort of personal issues that I was going through.
So this job was just supposed to be kind of like a stopgap.
Exactly. While figuring out what's next. And right before that, I was working for a beverage distribution company where I was just driving a box truck and delivering beer and wine to grocery stores and liquor stores and gas stations and whatever. And I was like, this is definitely not what I want to do long term. And so then got hired on to be a landscape lighting technician, installer, and there was promises of growing with this young and growing franchise business here. And that owner, he sold it 5.5 months after I was hired. And looking back, I still know him, still talk to him, good guy. But the whole reason why he hired me was to have something of greater value, more tangible for the next person he was going to sell it to. So sold it to another guy, and then together with another installer that was part-time at the time came on to be full-time, and we grew the location significantly there, and he sold it to another guy, and who had it for a couple of years, had some personal issues come up, and so he had to sell a little quicker than he had intended. And then so it sold to another guy. Through all of this, I've worked for 4 different local franchise owners, all very, very different. But that business continued to grow, and it's because it's a franchise system. And as long as that's the beauty of it. As long as you're following the system, you're following the process that has been laid out. Man, that'll preach, by the way, if you just hear what I just said.
Yes.
If you follow the plan, you'll be successul. And that's what these business owners were doing for the most part. Some better than others in that. And so I had gone through these transitions here, and through this, my status within the company and position within the company continued to grow. And it reached a point where the only real next step for me was to go on my own, or own that one. And I just wasn't in a position to make that happen.
So you went from basically entry-level grunt work to project operations manager.
Yep.
That would be the next step up.
Kind of like a lead installer, and then up to head of operations, operations director,
multiple
and then
jobs.
and then took on sales with that as well. And the responsibilities, with a local franchise kind of small business, your titles may look really great, but sometimes the day to day can look a little different than that. So I still continue to do some of the grunt work in that. But going into my 15th year of doing that, and I'd already made some connections in relationship with the franchisor. I'd helped develop some training resources for us, just kind of started to become a name within the system because of my tenure with it. And we were doing really good work here. And so with that, there just came an opportunity to move to the side of the franchisor to train other business owners as they were starting off in their journey, or others who might be struggling. So I was able to take my 15 years of real world knowledge in the franchise to these business owners and help solve new problems. In some ways, it was kind of the same problem that we had already kind of developed or worked through throughout my 15 years. But now I was able to go and impart that knowledge to someone else and now help see them be successful. And I get excited about it because it's so... I have a passion about being able to come alongside someone else and help them be successful. They've got a problem. They're scared to death. They've invested everything into this, and come alongside them and say, hey, we got you, and we're going to make this work. Assuming they follow the process. And that's the only, because it's not a guarantee that you buy a franchise and you're going to instantly be successful, because and the ones that tend to not be successful, the ones that deviate from that, they're like, I like my way better. Well, good luck. And most of the time that doesn't work out really well. So as long as you're going to buy into whatever that franchise system is, you should be successful in most cases.
Follow the process.
Follow the process. Follow the plan.
Plan the work the plan.
Yes.
Repeat.
Yes.
That's what my broker says. Basically, do XYZ, rinse, repeat. It's just the same thing over and over and over. Follow the process, and that is, and you have to, I think, understand the people. This is a time. It's a time game. You don't know. How am I trying to say it? It's basically like planting seeds. If you plant in the springtime, which you have to do, you're not going to harvest until the fall.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to plant, and if you don't plant, you're not going to harvest anything. So do the work, and eventually the results will come, but you have to follow the plan.
Yep, and there's definitely some times where the results may take a little bit longer here or there for whatever reason that you may experience. That's why a good franchise system will vet properly to make sure that you've got the resources behind you to weather any potential storm, so that you can get through that learning curve, whatever that may be. Because some people, they pick everything up really fast, they buy in, and they just take off, and others takes a little longer. And
that's not the majority.
Economic situations around the country or the world can definitely have an impact depending on the industry you're in. Mm-hmm. With that, so just making sure you're prepared in that. But even in that, as long as you buy into the system and you've vetted your franchisees or franchisor well to make sure you've picked a good one, you should be successful.
Yeah. All right. Well, look, let me just ask you this. Are you ready to make a real estate move in Greenville, South Carolina? As a local realtor with C. Dan Joyner and a member of Nexus Group, I strive to get you the best deal in the shortest amount of time with the least amount of disturbance to your life. Whether you are buying, selling, or investing, I'm here to guide you every step of the way. I give a commitment to personalized service and a focus on your needs instead of flashy realtor nonsense. I'll help you achieve your real estate goals with confidence and ease. So let's find your place in Greenville. Call me today, 864-207-2316, or visit my website, Chris Strother, that's STROTHER, chrisstrother.cjanjoyner.com. One thing that I was going to ask you, because you said if somebody listening to this podcast local to the upstate wants to open a garage living franchise and just crush it here in the upstate, who should they contact?
So I actually don't know exactly who that specific person would be, but
they send you an email.
I was going to say they can definitely reach out to me, and I'll make sure to get them in touch.
What's
with the right
email?
person.
Where should they send an email?
cmhaile@garageliving.com.
That's CMHAILE, right? cmhaile@garageliving.com, and Chris will get you connected with the right people so you can crush garages in the upstate.
Yeah, I can't believe it that there's not one out here. There's especially with the BMW plant that's out.
Well, you would think. I don't know. Do you ever talk to the sales side of the company?
Not much at this point. I'm sure.
I know you
as
say
I get
you're
involved,
relatively new.
Yep, I'm sure as I get more connected within the company that.
Well, it's just like I feel like you should just you should fire off an email with the explosion. With the explosion of people moving to the upstate and builders building like crazy around here, I would think that Garage Living, you would hope they have their finger on the pulse of that. They should. You're talking about, being ahead of the curve a little bit. As a franchise business coach, you want to be ahead of the curve instead of behind it for your clients. So you want Garage Living to look at what's going on in the U.S. residential market and see what's happening in the upstate, and them doing everything they can to say, we need to open a branch in Greenville.
Yeah, I know they would want to. I know they want to, and I think this market is ripe for one. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me if there's somebody who does floors like that. That's what they do. Southeast Florida, the franchise that's down there. He actually started off. Oh no, excuse me. I think it was Jacksonville. Started off where all he did was flooring, and then he looked into. He was looking into adding on garage remodel, but was more or less going to do it on his own, but just looking to see what was out there. And then when he came across Garage Living, the thought that he had was, I already know that I want to do this business and this territory is available. So if I can go out and do this on my own, but I'm leaving the door open for someone to compete against me under that name. So if I know that I'm going to do this, why not go ahead and lock down the rights with that? So if there's anybody that even had any kind of interest in it, yes, you could try to figure everything out on your own. But the reality is at some point, that there will be in the future a Garage Living in the upstate.
Yeah. All right. If you're listening, man, that was a golden opportunity for you. Hit up Chris Haile and he'll get you hooked up. Let me ask you this. We'll probably wrap it up soon. I'm against that time stop. But, I mean, my business, my cigar business, right? And I feel like there's an opportunity for me to do that as a franchise nationwide. Excluding, of course, South Carolina. What I want to exclude is probably North Carolina, South, and Georgia, and just work it, multiplying my business here, hiring crews, and just kind of crushing these 3 states.
You could have a corporate store, a corporate location. That's you that covers that area,
right? And then anybody else, wherever you are in the other 48 contiguous, or heck, if you want to, I don't know how much success there would be in Alaska or Hawaii, but. In the other 48,
hey, cigar would be just as good in Alaska, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure it would be. I just don't know how much activity there is there to support that kind of model. You know what I'm saying? But as a guy who has had this thought for quite a while now, you being a franchise business coach, what do I need to start thinking about? Like, what do I need to start putting on paper to start? To take all of those ideas in my head that is just kind of nebulous and put some bones to it to start thinking about, what it looks like to turn it into a franchise elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, your 2 biggest things are going to be the financial side, where you can prove it out that this is a profitable business, and to be able to know how much. Like, what's the demographic, the population size of an area that would make a territory, and if you start to have to spread it out to where it's too big, it just becomes overwhelming for a location to manage. Then maybe it doesn't make sense. But as long as the territory size makes sense for someone to try to manage with them, and they can be profitable, have a good life with that. But that means you have to have really good, clean books yourself that you can prove this out. You can say this is a proven business model. The other side, and there's a lot within that.
I mean, that just listening to that right off the bat, like, I'm not at a place where with my life, it would be, I mean, this is not a full-time job. This is not something that I'm just going to hang up everything I do not at this point, and just, make, 125 grand a year or whatever the number happens to be off of this business. Not yet. But on the other side of that, I'm thinking, all right, like, if you're going to run a cigar box franchise with a couple of trailers, then your base, I'm franchising to people in places like Austin, Texas, Nashville, Tennessee, Chicago, Illinois, Houston, Los Angeles. Yeah. Where there's a lot going on and there's a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because obviously what I do is an event driven business.
Yeah.
So you want to target people in, I guess, metro areas.
Yeah. But it's not just the big, massive events necessarily. But
No.
Your corporate events that you do,
Corporate
business,
weddings.
weddings. Yeah, that's that's where it can start to kind of broaden your reach and your potential territories, as long as there's enough. And maybe it's not necessarily a selling a franchise to where it's like, hey, this is going to be your full-time gig. You can go and have this massive, great life.
It's a fun,
it's a little add-on that you do
hustle
with whatever you have going on with your life. But the other side of it is going to be establishing your systems and processes, to know that you're not just selling someone a trailer and a name, and then the rights to a territory, but they have that plan to follow. So the two sides are going to be that it financially makes sense, and then the other side is you're actually giving them a system to follow.
Give them a system. Like, all right, so basically I'm going to break down for these people in a franchisee handbook, more or less. Here's your processes. Here's the licenses you'll need, and here's how you get them.
Mm-hmm.
Here's how you, here's where you buy cigars. This is kind of what you need to think about as far as stock. You know what I mean? Here's the price ranges you want your cigars at.
Yep.
And of course they can adjust that for their area or whatever. Just all that kind of stuff. And here's how you hunt and find events to be a part of.
That would be a big one.
All of that.
Because you'll want your people to be successful early on, and sales is going to be it, right? Because you can kind of figure out and tweak the process along the way, but if you're not selling anything.
I've been tweaking, and I mean that, I don't mean that in a drug sense, but I've been tweaking ever since I started this thing, and that's how you've just got to get in and experience it and figure out what you don't know and what works and what doesn't work and tweak. And, pricing is the hard one. Pricing's really hard. I changed my prices a while back, and I've had, quite a few inquiries on the Knot, which is a big wedding advertising thing, but no bookings. So I'm like, all right, did I increase my prices too much because I've had X amount of inquiries, but no bookings. So am I too expensive? Do I need to bring it down? And you just like, I've got to get that figured out before I obviously would want to put it out there. Cause you want people to be out of the gate successful they put it up, they get interest, they get bookings.
Yeah. Yeah. Without knowing your pricing right now, I would guess that you probably should charge more, knowing who you are, what you know, how committed you are to providing an outstanding service. But obviously that comes with sort of brand recognition and awareness, that people need to know that. But for anybody listening, I would say you're worth whatever it is that you're charging people, because I know how committed you are to this, and that you want to deliver for your clients.
I do. I want to help take people's events from just a great event to a memory. You know what I mean? To elevate it with a touch of class and luxury.
And I can instantly right now think about so many different memories, very specific memories of me with a cigar, whether it's by myself or with other people. In fact, one of a really great time was a holiday party, corporate event for an Atlanta office, and it was just a holiday get together, and they did the traditional like karaoke kind of stuff and had food and drinks and whatever. Everybody's celebrating costume stuff and kind of little whatever, kind of your typical corporate get together. But then outside, someone just had brought on their own their just an array of cigars for everybody just who was interested in it. And that was such a great time that, yes, the inside, the official corporate time was good, but to be able to sit around with these other coworkers or business people and hang out and just relax with a cigar together, very memorable.
Very memorable.
Each specific person.
Well, I mean, if you take that same scenario, but you insert the cigar trailer.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean.
Now you're taking it to 11.
right, because that trailer creates its own like atmosphere because it just puts out that unique and classy vibe, and then you surround that area with like outdoor furniture to make an outdoor lounge and everything, and everybody and the music's going, and it's just the next level up, and that's exactly what the cigar box provides to whatever event. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So that's, but it's a lot of work trying to break into those venues and make the right connections with the right people and try and be in some event planner's back pocket. But that's all part of the franchise handbook. Because really, when it comes down to it, you can scour Facebook and Eventbrite, and I think it's called Meet. That's another one. And you can scour Instagram for events, and that's one of the ways I do it. That's one of them. But the much better way is it's with any business. It's relationships.
Absolutely.
It is 100% relationships. So it's like me trying to hunt down wedding planners and event planners and meet them and, handshakes and free cigars for them and just that face-to-face and developing so that whenever they're planning an event for somebody and the person says, hey, I'd like to have cigars, I'm the guy they think of. Or either the person that is the person who's putting the event on, or my event planner says, hey, have you thought about having cigars? I've got this guy.
Yeah. That personal touch cannot be overstated, and I think it's going to grow to be even more significant in the climate and the culture that we're in, the advent of AI, just how it's becoming more and more a part of everyday life, especially business and marketing. I think we're all overwhelmed with just marketing. It's insane. And for someone who, again, likes to be able to hear my own thoughts, be able to think, it becomes a lot to take in. And I think it's so easy for anybody right now to just throw up websites, spam people,
100%.
And it's going to get even easier for them to find ways into your phone and into your life with the advent of AI, just technology that hasn't even been created yet, but it's just going to give businesses, and I'm going to put in quotes, businesses, access to you. So I think the differentiator for people is going to be that personal connection, that building relationship.
Yeah.
That's what's going to make businesses stand out from others.
Yeah, 100%.
And you're excellent at it.
Oh, well, that's very kind. Thank you. I appreciate that promotion, though this is really about you and, garage living. But look, man, I hate to cut it short, but I've got a hard stop here. Give me, off the top of your head, if you can.
Oh, I've got people. I'm ready for this question.
You are?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, all right, bring it. A couple of people I should bring on Sunday Afternoon Smokes.
So I've already mentioned to you Billy Scales, who owns a couple of businesses here. He was an MMA fighter as well. Got some awesome stories, and he's just born and raised in the upstate. I think came from Union, South Carolina, but just a great man, great friend, excellent husband, just a great father, but a great businessman too.
Yeah, okay.
So I think he would be awesome. And but some others would be Greg Boone, who runs a couple of camps. The one that I know of, have personal interaction with, would be Lookup Lodge, which is up around Travelers Rest area. So he would be great to talk to. And I think one that just hit me today actually would be, actually I would want to refer you to my sister, my younger sister, Bethany. So she has a salon down in the central area, but also runs the upstate cosmetology here,
nice.
that school. But just as a woman, single woman in business, she's got a
I had somebody tell me I need more women on the show.
Yeah, well, she would be great, and she'd have no problem talking.
Does she smoke cigars?
I don't know, but if she doesn't, I mean, I'll come. I'll join.
You'll sit in just
I'll
for the
smoke.
free cigar?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can.
And then correct her when she tells a story and I say, no, that's not
that's not what happened. Oh, awesome. All right, man. Well, thanks, Chris. Thanks for your time. Thanks for coming on, and thanks for talking to us about garage living, man. I hope somebody opens a franchise around here.
Yeah, that would be great.
So, all right. That's, what'd you say, cmhale@garageliving.com?
That's it.
All right. Shoot him an email, open one up. Look, if you are in need of my services as a realtor or with a cigar box, you can get me direct at 864-207-2316. You can visit mobileCigarBox.com to check me out and learn more about the business. And if you'd like to set up a no-obligation consultation with me as a real estate professional, shoot me an email to cstrother@cdanjoiner.com. You've been listening to Sunday Afternoon Smokes. I appreciate it. Share it with your friends and your family and on your socials. Share it with the world. The Sunday Afternoon Smokes is really sweet. We'll talk to you later.